Fulham are through to the quarter-final stages of the Emirates FA Cup after beating Manchester United 4-3 on penalties after drawing 1-1 in normal time. And this is how it happened. Starting off with the lineups then, Marco Silva reverting to the back four with Robinson, Iwobi and Calvin Bassey coming in for Cuenca, Sessegnon and Issa Diop. And as usual with a Marco Silva team, it was a 4-2-3-1 in possession and then a 4-4-2 out of possession. This is how Fulham took the lead then just before half-time, and this goal is actually eerily similar to the goal that we scored against Manchester United in the FA Cup 2 years ago. The ball is whipped in by Andres Pereira from the right-hand side and it's knocked on at the near post to the back post where it's put into the box. This time it was Muniz knocking it on for Calvin Bassey. 2 years ago it was Issa Diop knocking it on for Alexander Mitrovic. But luckily for us, we managed to keep our heads and go on and win the game. Now I want to focus on Sander Berge, who joined the club in the summer from Burnley for £20 million. He came in as the Joao Palhinha replacement after Palhinha left the club to join Bayern Munich in the summer. And if I'm honest, I'd much rather Sander Berge in the team right now than Joao Palhinha. There's no denying Palhinha's defensive ability, but in my opinion, Sander Berge is much closer to Palhinha's defensive ability than Palhinha's closer to Sander Berge's technical ability. I mean, if you look at Fulham's record from last season when Joao Palhinha wasn't in the team, we won 4 out of the 5 matches, and the one match we lost was against Manchester City, which last season especially, you didn't really stand a chance. And then if you compare it to Fulham's record without Sander Berge this season, only 2 wins from 6 matches and 3 of the other 4 results being quite poor results considering we're a team that's trying to push for European places. A 4-1 loss against Wolves, a 2-2 draw against Ipswich and a 3-2 loss against West Ham. All 3 teams who have really struggled this season. There was something about that Sander Berge performance which was almost like Sergio Busquets-esque in the way he was retaining possession. I think it was the way Sander Berge turns on the ball, where he's not the most agile player, being 6'5", but made it work every time and then was able to play a nice pass out to Anthony Robinson, Timothy Castagne, Adama Traore or Alex Iwobi. And that's shown in Sander Berge's stats for the match. 94% pass success rate, 6 tackles won, 4 clearances, 4 interceptions, 9 recoveries and 6 headers won. But that stat of 0 times being dribbled past I think is the most impressive given how easy it is to be a passenger in a midfield. And his performance was summed up by an excellent penalty. Even if you dive the right way, you're not saving that. And speaking on penalties, let's talk about Bernd Leno, who was the saviour for Fulham in that penalty shootout, coming out with 2 saves from Joshua Zirkzee and Victor Lindelof. Admittedly, they were quite poor penalties from the pair of them, but you still have to go the right way and save it, and Bernd Leno saved us throughout the match. Especially in extra time with that chance for Obi right at the end. It was a very good save from him and excellent reactions from the German shot stopper. And that summed up with the 5 big chances that Manchester United had, but missed all 5, with their only goal coming from a great strike from Bruno Fernandes. In my opinion, I think he scuffs it as it comes off the ankle rather than the foot, but it was a good finish with it curling away from Bernd Leno, making it very difficult to stop. And a word on Calvin Bassey, who scored our goal in normal time. A brilliant performance from him, and that's just summed up in his stats here. 114 touches then for Calvin Bassey, which was only second to his fellow centre-back Joachim Andersen for touches by a Fulham player in the match. 7 clearances and 3 interceptions, which show how solid Calvin Bassey was, albeit that's with Rasmus Højlund being isolated for the majority of the match with a lack of wing help from Christian Eriksen and Joshua Zirkzee. I'm going to be honest, there has been times this season and even in the match on Sunday where Calvin Bassey has made me nervous, especially when he's been in possession. I do think there's times where he holds on to the ball for too long, and there are times where he does get fortunate that he wins a defensive free kick right on the edge of our box. But there's no denying that his pace and physicality that he brings to the defence is vital, especially when his other centre-back is Joachim Andersen, who we all know isn't the fastest. Now, say what you want about the team's mentality in terms of concentration in the 45th to 60th minute and in second half stoppage time, but something that cannot be ignored is the records that Marco Silva's team has been breaking. It was a first win at Stamford Bridge for 45 years, a first win at Molineux for 40 years, and now a first win in the FA Cup against Manchester United for 117 years. An incredible achievement from Silva and co. I guess the real test for Marco Silva's side is whether they can win at Turf Moor if Burnley get promoted this season. We haven't won there since 1936. But it's a real opportunity now for Fulham. We've got Crystal Palace in the quarterfinal stages at Craven Cottage. Yes, they did beat us in this same fixture a couple of weeks ago, but before then we should have Kenny Tete and Harry Wilson back, two real game changers and two real important players to the team. But there's a real chance that we could actually go on and win the whole thing. Brighton and Hove Albion, who we are their bogey team. Hopefully we can continue that on at the weekend in a pivotal match for Europe. Nottingham Forest, who we've done the double over this season. Preston North End, yes, we did get knocked out to them earlier on in the season in the League Cup, albeit with a rotated side. Aston Villa, who we had a really good chance to beat early on in the season, had Andreas Pereira converted his penalty to make us go 2-0 up. Crystal Palace, who we beat at Selhurst Park. AFC Bournemouth, who we drew against early on in the season, only being denied by an 87th minute equaliser. And then Manchester City, who we really should have beat at the Etihad. We were vastly the better team on the day. And looking at the team's histories in the competition, barring Man City, who won it 2 years ago, us, Crystal Palace, Brighton, Bournemouth have never won it. Preston last won it in 1938, Aston Villa last won it in 1957, and Forest in 1959. There's a real opportunity for there to be someone new winning the FA Cup this season, which is nice. Hopefully, it's Fulham. But that's all you need to know in terms of our penalty shootout win against Manchester United at the weekend. We turn our attention back to the Premier League in a real crunch game for Europe against Brighton and Hove Albion. Hopefully, we can win that game and really put us in a strong position for European qualification. Like the video, subscribe to the channel and follow me on all my socials. That would be greatly appreciated. But until then, keep well.